Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything due to the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we'll go from Earth 616 to the Mojoverse to the TVA in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble, Volume 206. And as it feels good to be back, as the famous Tony Stark once said. Feels good to be back.
I hope you had a good trip. Was your last couple of weeks good ones?
Yeah. Well, first, before I forget, I want to thank Travis Hines. I want to thank David. And I want to thank Travis Snell for stepping in for both of us that first week and then me last week at that point. Yeah, my trip to Atlanta for work was a lot of fun. Got to tour and do some great PD at the Ron Clark Academy. For you educators, that will mean something to you. For everyone else, you have homework to do. Google Ron Clark Academy, and you will see what I did for a couple of days. And then, went off to an hour outside of Cancun called Acumel at an all-inclusive resort, just Aaron and me, while the kids were with grandma and grandpa in Florida. So everyone was happy.
Yeah.
Everyone had a good time. Lots of good food, lots of time to relax. So.
Excellent. Well, welcome back.
Yeah, and you had a less than 24-hour work trip the week before.
Yeah, I did. I mentioned that briefly last week, but I left on a Wednesday after work and got back on Thursday, basically 20. The flight left Kansas City about 6:00 Central, and the flight to come home from Wisconsin was about 6:00 Central, and so the actual travel time a little over 24 hours. I don't know, 27, 28, whatever. I wasn't paying that much attention. Basically, we were there and back in a day. It was totally worth it. Hopefully, greater things will come from that particular partnership we were talking about. And this, it was a trip basically to talk to a vendor that we have some stuff with now that we want to potentially expand. Potentially, right. If we do, it would take a lot of stress off my plate. Let's put it that way. It was a good show. And then I had Comic-Con last weekend, which was...
You did? We'll be talking about that soon.
We'll definitely talk about it later, but I hadn't been since 2019. Obviously, in 2020, that kind of thing didn't happen. And then either in 2021, I wasn't willing to go, and the other years, I opted not to. So it was... As I told my wife, we're watching all these cosplayers. Even though I am not a cosplayer, I respect it. I have a lot of respect for the people that do those costumes. And... it just felt good to be amongst that kind of nerd again. To walk around and see all these nerds and geeks from all these fandoms, and it just felt good to be, back with my people. And so I felt like I was with my people for the weekend. It was a lot of fun.
Well, good. I'm glad you got that experience. And I'll be going back to Heroes Con in June, so I'm looking forward to that. And a few of my other YouTube brethren who I've only not gotten the chance to meet in person will be coming here, so I'm looking forward to that as well. So,
very nice.
But yeah, we've got a lot of interesting things to talk about this week, including we can actually say for the very first time we have a official confirmation from Marvel Alliance.
That's right. Technically, we were told something.
We were told something by a person.
We'll get there, though.
We'll get there. I'm very excited to hear all about it. So, but let's get all the show plugs out of the way. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 7 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUAPod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon. So if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers. We've got our $1 tiers, our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job? And then we've got our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows, including our recently wrapped up show, We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance Infinity Saga Rewatch, 24 episodes on there. And Brent and I, next Monday, we have our first recording for our newest Patreon show, Tales from the House of X. We will be watching our favorite movies from the Fox era of X-Men. And Brent, what are we starting with next week?
Deadpool 1, and I did my homework last, Sunday night, I think it was. I did my homework for it. I revisited that movie, and I watched it on Disney Plus, and promptly at the end it said, you might like Moana. I don't understand the connection, but that's what it said to me.
I'm going to have to see, because Aaron and I will be watching it on Saturday night, so I'll be very curious to see what it recommends for me to watch.
Yeah, so. I started laughing at that every bit as much as I was the movie.
There we go.
Yes, Deadpool 1. I'm excited to talk about it.
But yep, then we'll move on to Deadpool 2, The Wolverine, Logan, X-Men X2, X-Men First Class, and X-Men Days of Future Past, both cuts. So if you are a member of our Patreon, thank you very much. We can't do this without your support. If you're not a member, go to www.patreon.com/GUA Network to get all the great back content from DC Alliance, Star Wars Alliance, Ranger Alliance, all the great content. And I do want to plug Joe, David's in the chat. Joe is starting his new multiverse minutes segment called I'm going to see if I get this right. Joe's going to hate me already. I already forgot. I cannot remember it. It's what he's doing is he twice a month, the 1st and the 15th, he's going to be going in I want to say it's Disney Deep Dives, and he's going to be going into going from the beginning of Disney animation all the way to present. So he's got a lot of content. He started with Snow White, and I believe tomorrow's the 15th. So the next one will be dropping tomorrow or today if you're listening to this for patrons. So Joe's going to probably text me when he listens and chide me out for getting it all wrong. But I apologize, Joe. I apologize. I'll get it right next time. But check out all that great content. We really appreciate it. And if you're not a member of Patreon, if you can take 30 to 90 seconds and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcast, we greatly appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, for your omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPP, you got it going on with excellent customer service, immaculate packaging, ships around the world. Got 8 more days to lock in these pre-orders for Moon Knight by Jed McKay omnibus coming into print. Godzilla, the original Marvel years. Whoever thought that was ever coming into print? You got 3 covers to choose from there. This one I was very excited. Spider-Man: The Complete Black Costume Saga.
Yes.
First time ever into print. Nice. A very Spider-Man by Michelini and Larson coming back into print. A controversial one coming from Marvel in Gallery Edition, NYX, the comic book introduction to X-23. And I say controversial because of who X-23, what profession X-23 had during that time.
Indeed.
So we will leave it at that. But if any of these books fit your fancy.
The Morrison X-Men.
Yep, the Morrison.
I just think the costumes are funny.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Black leather and
big
and
giant yellow X's.
Emma Frost is probably the most intriguing.
That was them trying to sort of mimic the movies back then. And
a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yep, just a little bit. But use that code MARVELGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order. Lets them know you're a listener, and we want to thank them for being our official sponsor. All right, want to give one quick, even though it's not a quote GUA network, I want to at least give a plug to our brethren over at Geekverse. Today, if you're listening to this, they will be dropping on Patreon for rent their first short movie at that point. There definitely is. It's not just Geekverse people that are a part of it, and it is very intriguing. I have gotten a chance to see it, and it is definitely a very interesting movie.
Look at you with the connections.
I know, I get the connections, so I can definitely say it great. I told this to Travis, great work. It's a fun movie. I was very intrigued by it at that point, but check that out. They'll be dropping probably a lot of links tomorrow. They should be very proud of the work that they did. It was a lot of fun watching it last night. So, but thank you for that opportunity, and I hope if you all check it. I'm not sure what the price is going to be to rent it, but it's just going to be for the weekend only. Because they're trying to enter it into festivals. So check out all the socials for Geekverse to see how you can get access to it for that limited time only. So, all right, Brent, I'm wearing X-Men for, next week's X-Men 97, but we got some bad news to talk about with this. Early, like last weekend, we started seeing some of the scoopers, say some, drop some hints in the sense of Marvel can't catch a break, this, that, and the other. They weren't willing to say it, but that finally was revealed, coming through from the Hollywood Reporter as an exclusive. They said earlier this month, Beau DeMayo was in the midst of a particularly busy time at Marvel Studios. He was a writer-producer, was prepping for the launch of X-Men 97. And then he was also wrote live action series Moon Knight, as well as the drafts for the company's delayed but still upcoming vampire thriller Blade. Had completed 2 seasons of X-Men 97. Early last week, Marvel and DeMayo suddenly parted ways, and Hollywood Reporter is saying it's not just parting ways, he was fired. So his company email has been deactivated, and the cast and crew were informed he was no longer on the project. His Instagram account, once the source for X-Men updates, was deleted. No reason for the firing was given. Marvel also had no comment. DeMayo's representatives did not return calls for comment or emails to the showrunner, yielded no response. This is their commentary. It was a surprising turn of events for the eve of the show that's debuting next week. Splitting with writers is a normal part of the process at any studio. However, it is unusual for the top creative on a Marvel project to miss a premiere or cancel press plans last minute, even if they've been shuffled to the side. Most Marvel premieres feature multiple screenwriters walking the red carpet, some of whom had been rewritten, and other writers who are just walking the red carpet. They announced the hiring of DeMayo in 2021, and the move was met with some level of excitement, as the scribe was brought his identity as a gay black man to the project and made it a point of talking to the press about how growing up as an adopted son to white parents with a Korean sister in the South made X-Men characters and their struggles feel personal. Who can blame? I mean, that's a lot of for a lot of people. That's what the X-Men represent is. The ideas of people being feared and persecuted for looking different and acting different. His silence on social media has been acute, as he was a prolific poster, sharer of the X-Men tidbits, as well as a shirtless picture of himself at the gym. At the time, he also, this is just coming from the Hollywood Reporter, he had a non-explicit OnlyFans account, all of which were inspired by LGBTQ publication out to declare him, they said, the sexy gay Marvel writer and showrunner to know. But at the time, there has been no reason. There has been nothing. The only comment that has been made regarding this, Variety put out saying this is coming from, where am I getting this? Brad Winderbaum said he did excellent work writing seasons 1 and 2, and I can't wait for the fans to see the series. The entire team came together to create a revival worthy of the X-Men's 60-year legacy, from Stan to Jack to Claremont to Lourdes. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. So, a lot of people were saying, we just don't know. A lot of people kind of hung on the idea of the OnlyFans account. But per Hollywood Reporter, it was not necessarily, quote unquote, an explicit account. I know a lot of things when you hear OnlyFans, people basically just directly associate it with explicit account information. But we don't know. And the fact that, I would say Hollywood Reporter, among all the trades, probably is one of your top tier trades that usually chooses its headlines correctly. But the fact that they say fired doesn't necessarily say creative differences.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate. We're not going to speculate over the reason, but the use of the word fired is very interesting, is very telling. But so is the fact that he did work on both seasons 1 and 2 and had started prep for his season 3.
Yes.
And so that tells me it's not like EP Brad Winderbaum and Feige and company were upset with the work and the quality of work he had put out. Like, you don't have them start working on a third season before season 1 debuts when you're unhappy with how the work has gone.
Yeah.
Or even when you question what is the reaction to it going to be. You don't, that just doesn't make sense to me. So there is more to this story. Are we ever going to find out? I don't know. But I don't want to speculate. I'm not going to play that game. Mm-hmm. But it certainly caught my eye, and the timing is real suspect.
It is, especially, again, like it was last minute. If people want to latch onto this whole OnlyFans stuff, it all comes down to when do they know, how do they know, things like that. It's when you go, it's one of these things where a star can do one thing, but another person behind the scenes does the same thing and gets fired of it. I don't know. It's a tough business we're in, and you're needed until you're not. It's a dog eat dog world, unfortunately, in a lot of different industries, particularly Hollywood. And I hate that this happened. To your point, I don't know if we will we will ever find out exactly what the quote unquote firing happened. I'm still looking forward to the series. I don't think this necessarily puts the series in jeopardy for a possible third season. Like you said, work had already been done for a third season. It's unfortunate that this had to happen the day of the premiere when it came out. So it's just one of those things where it's unfortunate. It's a bad problem to have when you're dealing with this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not what you want to come out. It's really disappointing. And I guess if we watch seasons 1 and then later 2 and we're disappointed by the content, we're like, okay, well, it sucks for whatever why, but we're glad someone else is in charge. But I don't know. Based on the early press screenings where I've just kind of peeked at the reviews of just a little to get a feel for the initial thoughts coming out of it, I am definitely anticipating this one quite a bit. I know some new clips and stuff came out in the last couple days. I have no part of that. I'm very much not having that. But regardless, ultimately, the whole situation sucks.
Mm-hmm. But again, they move on. I did appreciate hearing the comment that, again, he did good work. He helped usher in this series. And to the people that, again, we brought it up a few weeks ago, if you think the X-Men are acting too woke, then
you don't know the X-Men.
You don't know the X-Men. They've been like that since the beginning. So again, I hate the word woke, but I could already hear it coming back at that point. But what I can say positive is that the people that have seen the first 3 episodes, I have not seen negative reviews at all. They say it's great nostalgia. They like the ideas. I think maybe BD on Phase Zero was saying that he was upset about something they did, but it wasn't like, I hate the show for what they did,
Exactly. And yeah, I've got that Phase Zero episode in my queue, but I haven't listened, and I may just sit on it until after I've seen the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
I don't usually listen to the non-spoiler. There's like one person I'll listen to him because I know for definitively doesn't spoil anything, and the rest of the people I don't. But regardless, we got less than a week. Next week we have new MCU content to talk about. I'm definitely very excited for the show.
Yep. We got 2 episodes to talk about next week, so I'm very excited. And stay checked for our post credits, because we got more X-Men 97 to talk about with our post credits tonight. So check that out. All right, so let us take our actual. Well, no, let's we'll take our next ad break after you talk about the big news that you got, your Comic-Con visit, who you spoke to, and our very first Marvel Alliance official confirmation about a MCU project star in it.
Yeah, and we're claiming that because it came out before anything else was said publicly.
Correct.
Like I said earlier, I was at Comic-Con last weekend, and I was fortunate enough to get to meet both Paul Bettany and John Berthal. I had a little bit more time to talk with John Berthal. Now, if you've never been in those convention autograph line situations, you really only have a couple minutes usually to talk, and that's a long time. But I got to shake the man's hand a couple times and tell him I appreciated his work. Well, longer time listeners might remember that I've said there are 3 people I want back from the Netflix era, and anyone else is gravy. Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, both of whom have been officially confirmed, and John Berthal, who has not actually been officially confirmed. Marvel hasn't said anything. I said to John Berthal right to his face, I really hope those unconfirmed rumors are true and that we're going to see you again as the Punisher. And he looks right at me and said, well, I can confirm it for you. I was just shooting for it last night. And this was the first day of the con. It all lines up. I tell you, I had just the biggest smile.
Marvel Alliance exclusive. Brent has on the record, John Bernthal is officially back as the Punisher.
Yes, oh my gosh, I was so excited. Now, it came up during his panel the next day, and he kind of dodged the question, probably because he didn't want to say anything to a packed panel room. I don't know how many fit in that room, but it's a lot. And then, after that, a couple days later, he puts on Instagram, David actually sent this to me first, a picture of a storybook that just says one batch, two batch. Now, if you
Mhm.
don't know what that is, it's a book relevant, very much relevant to the Punisher character, specifically in the Netflix era of the shows. If you're listening to this and you somehow haven't seen the Daredevil on Netflix and then the Punisher on Netflix,
You have homework.
I highly encourage it. But the one batch, two batch really comes up in early episodes of season 2 of Daredevil. And so just know, like, that was John Berthal's way of publicly saying I'm back without actually saying I'm back. Like, he basically, it's like a loophole. He's right up against the box, but just outside for what he's allowed to do. But he told me and my wife that he can confirm he's back, and I was just thrilled, excited to. And I mean, like I said, told you guys, it's like we knew, but now it's like now I know because he told me,
Yes.
like he from himself.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I'm super excited, can't wait to see it. Just bring it on. I didn't ask anything like, do you think you're gonna have a show or anything like that? I just wanted to know he was back as Frank Castle.
Mhm.
That's what we know is coming to us. The fact that he puts the one batch, two batch thing makes me think set photos are going to start coming. I know allegedly there was a set photo like 2 weeks ago of his.
You couldn't
stunt
tell who it
double.
was.
You could not tell a damn thing from that set photo. I tried looking at it. I tried zooming in. I looked on my phone. I looked on my Mac. I'm like, give me the best screens I got. Nothing. I could not. You can't tell squat from that video or that photo. But it doesn't matter. I think something will come out soon if he's putting this out there.
Can't protect your women, Red.
Right.
No, but you got a more of a tease from Mr. Bettany. Well.
I did say to Bettany, this felt like less of one for sure. I basically made the comment of, I hope we will see the Vision soon, and he said you will. I was like, great, perfect, I'll take it. Makes me happy. What does soon mean? I don't know. In the panel,
but he didn't say it, hopefully. He just said
you
will.
will. In his panel, when this question came up, this just made me laugh. He more or less just said that Kevin Feige doesn't like loose ends, and I immediately started thinking of like all the different plot threads we're still kind of waiting to get picked back up again, like stuff from Eternals or Moon Knight or Shang-Chi or what. I was like, doesn't like loose ends. I mean, technically they haven't came back, but regardless, it's that was his way of saying like he'll be back as the Vision. And we all knew, but it's so much more fun to hear them say it.
Yes, it is. Well, congratulations on getting without too much strong arm, Brent, at that point. That is probably some of your biggest highlights of your con experience has got to be on the top of your list.
Yes, like meeting him was like my personal like number one thing I wanted to do. For my wife, it was Paul Bettany because she loves A Knight's Tale and WandaVision is her favorite Marvel project period, and so she was excited to meet him. We were both happy, and then just saw some cool panels, walked around, saw some great cosplay, took the kids to it on Sunday. They both had fun. My daughter more with the food. She loved all the snacks. My son loved seeing all the costumes. Just constantly, Dad, look over there, look over there, pointing at people. It was a great time.
Yeah, that's some cool stuff at that point. So, all right, well, we're going to take our next ad break before we start looking into some updated Marvel rumors at that point. So, ladies and gentlemen, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they could be a bit loud. Give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right. So, last week I think you all broke down some more Daniel RBK rumors at that point in leaks. We've got some more to talk about. So if you don't want to hear any of this stuff, some of it's leak worthy, some of it's just more like inside baseball sense of projects and things like that. Fast forward maybe about 10 minutes.
And again, yes, like RPK, he gets enough right. I can't totally discount him, but he throws so much at the wall. Just by the law of large numbers or whatever it's called, he's gonna get some things right.
Yep. So we're gonna give our opinions on some of this stuff. So probably the biggest one, as you can see with our headline this week regarding Eternals, he's saying that Marvel is cutting costs, and though Eternals 2 was quote unquote secretly in the works, it is now on hold, if not outright canceled. Kevin Feige wanted it to be made, but Bob Iger does not and thinks that it's another flop in the making. So let's deal with that one. Eternals 2. So we got, Feige saying he wants it, probably to close some, loose ends. and Bob Iger's like, no, we've lost enough money on things, and he's already got the evidence to say Eternals was not what he would consider to be a successful outing.
Sure, box office wise, that movie lost money. Like pure box office, the movie had to lose money. But reported budget's 230 something million, and it only made 400 at the box office. So that's not going to cut it. I'm sure when you get the credit it gets for whatever on Disney Plus and VOD and Blu-ray sales, I'm sure the movie is in the black. But they don't want to be going to those. They need to be at the box office in the box. So I'm not surprised. This rumor feels plausible to me because Iger has publicly stated like he's thinking about and he's looking into cutting things back, but they put at the end of the movie, the Eternals will return. Of course, Feige has paid all those off. Every time we've seen will return, yep. The person did, and they still might. They never said the Eternals will return in their own project. They could show up somewhere else, and technically it's still right, but I don't know. It feels plausible to me. It's disappointing. Like, no, The Eternals wasn't my favorite movie by any means, but there is some serious potential there, and there's some cool characters, and if nothing else, I could have enjoyed seeing some more of, like, Makari as the speedster and stuff, because I really like the effects they did with her, and I would have happily taken another Eternals movie, if not, but it probably should not be, like, top of the priority list either.
Yeah, and kind of going along with that, no Ant-Man 4 or Captain Marvel 3. They want to focus on sure hits and take less risks. So I was watching, trolling TikTok as forever how long it lasts in the United States at that point, and saw a few of the TikTokers I follow that comment on the Marvel stuff, and one of them brought out this idea that the whole focus on Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool is going to save the MCU. Marvel is learning the wrong lessons from what happened in the last year, in the sense of not promoting what they consider to be risky projects. I can definitely see where they're going at with this, and I do agree with them on the sense of where they are learning some of the wrong lessons. It's not about taking risks, it's about letting people cook and taking the time to create good stories, good VFX, and hiring the right people that can put out a good product. I think that's the lessons they should learn versus you're putting out sure things just based on the character,
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania had a budget of $275 million is what I'm finding online right now. Box office of 463. That right there tells me enough. It's like I'm not surprised. Now the difference between that and Eternals is Eternals came out much at a very different time as far as COVID mandates and stuff like that happened. Like, yet people were still going to the movies, but a lot more people were going to the movies around the time of Quantumania's release than they were of the Eternals release. Does that make sense? And so because of that, like, to me, Quantumania, box office wise, is the bigger failure of the movie. I just don't see how you. So it's like Ant-Man 4. This movie does not warrant a sequel. Like the turnout of the movie does not warrant a sequel as is. I don't think. And there haven't exactly been a lot of sub-franchises in the MCU that got a fourth installment. Thor, yes. The Captain America movies, yes, because I will count Falcon and Winter Soldier, but it was on Disney Plus. It wasn't theatrical.
But proven successes. Say what you want about Ragnarok, which is divisive amongst the community. I like it. You like it.
Proven successes, yes.
But they have a box office. Say what you want against Love and Thunder.
It
wasn't necessary. It still made money and was considered a success.
Yeah, it didn't make as much as Ragnarok did, but Dark World made more than Thor. Ragnarok made more than Dark World, and then Love and Thunder did not make more, but it made money. It still cleared 700. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania didn't. Its third one, the one that was supposed to be the biggest one and kick off the next big thing with Kang, it made quite a bit less money than the previous two Ant-Man movies. So to me, they're okay. I would like to see the character again. Captain Marvel 3, that's a different situation entirely. But, it just came out that, like, the first week that the Marvels was on Disney Plus, that it was by far the most watched thing, or the first couple weeks. Like, people absolutely tuned in to watch it. They just didn't get people to go to the theater to watch it. And you got to figure out why. What changed? What was it about that movie? Was it just, was it people a lack of interest in the characters, or was it more misogynistic takes? Let's say, absolutely both of those things would have been a part of it. That's the question. I personally hope they do of these. I hope they do come back to the Marvels again. I would love to see more of that, but you can't blame them. The movie did flop incredibly hard.
And like I said, I think what some of the people I'm watching, I can't remember this one person who brought it up, but I agree with them saying you can do projects like this again if you hire the right people, you put the right people behind the camera, you take the time to create a quality product. You can get people interested in this, but like you point out, Quantumania and the Marvels, they were rushed, and it showed.
And they don't need to have these massive Avenger level budgets.
No, they don't.
They shouldn't. They shouldn't have these budgets. That's a lack of control. Where is that control at? Is it with the director? Is it with the producers? Is it with Feige himself? The answer is yes to all of that. It's a lack of control. The budget should absolutely be smaller for, especially like the Marvels. Only three main people in it. Like, it should not command Avengers level money. It just shouldn't. That's an absolute setting yourself up for failure right away. So what do we got next?
Well, next one, quick one. Monica and Maria Rambeau are not in Deadpool 3 unless it is a post-credit scene. So I can kind of understand that. That's coming from, the end of the Marvels at that point. I wasn't expecting them. So that was kind of like, oh, okay. Wasn't expecting them, but don't necessarily need to see them in Deadpool 3.
I think there's a reasonable chance they show up somewhere in the movie, and that would include the post-credit scene. So that's all I got on that.
Yep. Venom 3 will be the last solo Venom movie, but Sony has plans for the character to be in other projects, and Feige is open to have him in Secret Wars 2. Okay, yeah, we already knew Venom 3 was going to be the last solo one, but my question is, Sony has plans for the character in other projects. And what projects may that be? Because everything else you seem to be cutting and running from each failure after failure at that point outside of Venom solo movies.
Yeah, it's a good question, but if you think about it, Venom has been successful for Sony.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So putting him, if Tom Hardy doesn't want to do another whole movie, but you can put Venom into another whatever it is, but I'm just going to say Craven because I don't know what else is coming out. If you could put him in another movie, then like Craven or something, then that could help draw some attention to that movie. So it just makes sense. And Feige being open to having him in Secret Wars, pretty sure Feige is open to anybody who's ever worked for Marvel being in Secret Wars. Like, I'm not at all surprised to hear
Vinny
that.
Jones being the most recent one to say thanks but no thanks.
Right. So that doesn't surprise me at all. And I'm sure that it wouldn't surprise me if Sony said, like, we want Venom in Secret Wars, and to do that, we're going to give in on this rumor or that rumor or whatever, related to Spider-Man or
let's pivot to that one. Stay in the Spidey universe. That one, it's the second last one we'll go to right now as you hint towards it. Kevin Feige seems to have won, and Marvel Studios, Sony are currently looking for a director. So what that basically he's saying is that there was this supposed battle between Kevin Feige, who wanted Spider-Man 4 to be more street level, have Daredevil in it, and go against the Kingpin, while Sony wanted to continue the multiverse, have more multiverse, and bring back Garfield and/or Toby, if not both of them, continue on the multiverse. And so apparently that was an internal battle amongst the two. And according to Daniel RPK, if he's to be believed, Kevin Feige seems to have won this out, and they're looking for a new director for Spider-Man 4.
Which, great. Snell and I talked about this last week. I still like Snell's idea of do a street level movie and then have a credit scene with one of the other spiders showing up. Like, that's great. Best of both worlds. And that basically teases another Spider-Man project after it. Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. Shang-Chi 2 begins production next year. Time travel's involved. Iron Fist plan is being included. So do I hear the return of Colleen Wing?
I hope so. Yes, please, Jessica Henswick, come back and play this character again. And frankly, I'll take Danny Rand again. Like, have him show up and like for 5 minutes or something like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
fine, but I really hope Jessica Henswick gets to come back and play Colleen Wing again. I absolutely love Shang-Chi. And
Same
so I
here.
like, as far as like the new introduced characters, that's the one I'm ready to see the most of, right? Again, I'm
Yeah.
not counting Daredevil. Let's just be clear. He doesn't count because his old stuff counts. But for the new, since Phase 4 began and we have the new group of characters introduced, Shang-Chi is the one I most want to see again. Please, let's go.
Hey, I'm ready. I agree. The Shang-Chi is definitely one of the newest characters that, budget-wise and what it achieved at the box office, there were a lot of things coming against it. It swung hard and it met success when it came back. So, last one. Sean Levy is expected to have more Marvel projects. So there's been a lot of stuff saying that Bob Iger's very happy with Deadpool and Wolverine. Kevin Feige's very happy. Those who have seen it are very excited about it. This is no surprise. Definitely. Now, could you see Sean Levy being the new name director for Secret Wars?
Ask me that after we've seen Deadpool and Wolverine, which is, to be fair, a bit of a cop-out. But I will tell you, I really enjoyed the Adam Project on Netflix. I loved Free Guy. I loved Free Guy. I thought that was such a great
Catchphrase
project. And if you haven't seen either of those movies, I would highly recommend them both. And then I obviously am really enjoying and looking forward to what we're seeing of Deadpool and Wolverine so far. So would I say it's possible? Absolutely, it's possible. I know everyone's still talking about it's Benson and Moorhead who's working on Daredevil right now, doing the next big thing, to which I've said, let's get them on the big screen, at least the big screen with Marvel first, before we do that. But if we have a couple Avengers movies coming out, well, maybe Sean Levy does one, maybe they do the other one. I don't know. But
I mean, he's the one tackling right now the most recent continuation of the multiverse saga. So that's why I would say I'm not necessarily saying he handles whatever Secret Wars projects 1, 2, or 3, whatever we're getting with Secret Wars, but he's definitely now looking like the lead candidate based on just what we have been hearing.
I haven't seen everything he's worked on, but I've liked everything that I've seen. And so I am certainly open to future Marvel projects. So this is a rumor I absolutely hope is more fact than fiction.
And we'll see. So, all right. Well, let us head to our last news story of the evening. Venom 3 is titled and moves up their release date to October. So the third installment of Venom franchise has finally received the title. This is coming from Variety. Venom: The Last Dance. Sony has also moved up the film's release date to October 25th. It was previously a week later at November 8th. Plot details are still under wraps, but Tom Hardy will return as the Lethal Protector. Also starring June Temple, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and Clark Bracco. Kelly Marcel will make her feature directorial debut with the project. She also wrote the screenplay for my story she developed with Hardy. Avi Arad, Matt Tolak, Amy Pascal, and so on are producing. The first two Venom films basically earned a combined total. This is why Brent and I have been always saying, like it or hate it, you can't deny this is what they both have made combined: $1.3 billion at the box office. So it's up a week in October, and now it's called The Last Dance.
The release date is better.
The release date is better for it. I agree. The Last Dance, I just really wanted it to be called Venom: Lethal Protector.
That I actually had on my list of potential fact or fictions to call it that. That the name is going to be Venom Lethal. What is cell phone? It's an own goal, whatever you want to call it. The Lethal Protector name was right there. It's from the comics. They made the jokes about it.
We kind of said that. We've been saying that a lot about the Venom franchise. It's right there.
It's right there. Now, is The Last Dance the stupidest name for a comic book movie I've never heard? No, it's not. And does that mean the movie is going to be garbage? No, it doesn't. But it's a stupid name. The Last Dance. Are you trying to invoke the Michael Jordan documentary there? It's a dumb name.
I don't want to be such. No, I thought it was a different thing. It's like, let's do maybe. Wasn't that one? Julia Stiles had one called The Last Dance too, something like that.
Save the Last Dance.
Save the Last Dance.
I had to get there.
There you go. So
It,
I don't want the Last Dance documentary anywhere associated with Venom. Let's not put greatness with
right.
this.
Well, I hear you. It's just a dumb name, but again, the movie will be fine.
You say it brings up the Knives Out thing. I love quoting. It's so dumb, it's brilliant. No, it's just dumb.
Yes, it's just dumb. But whatever. I do like the release date change. I think getting it out. To me, Venom just feels like it fits with Halloween, and even if it's not a Halloween or horror, like it's just the vibe fits with it, and so I think that's good. Get it out before Halloween, so I'm cool. I'm cool with the release date move. I think that's a good move on their part.
Yep, good move at that point. But all right, so that is all the news we got for this week. So we're going to take our final ad break for the evening before we get into listener feedback, Factor Fictions, and the return of Comic Book Club after the absence that we've had. So we appreciate the fans sticking around for that. But as you know, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they could be a bit loud, so give it a 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right, Brent, as always, you put out the Spidey signal. What listener questions do we have this week?
Yeah, we got a couple. First up from Phil. If the Kang Dynasty film is getting a complete overhaul, what kind of smaller scale Avengers story do you think would lead into the Secret Wars just as well, maybe if not even better than Kang Dynasty? That's a really hard question.
That is a really hard. That's definitely
a smaller scale story leading into Secret Wars.
I think that's an oxymoron there, Phil. I don't think you're saying two things that aren't supposed to be together.
Like to me the answer would be some sort of story where a small multiversal group from one universe shows up, either asking for help or to help, something like that, alerting the rest of the Avengers to the Avengers who haven't been as involved. Like, obviously Doctor Strange knows the multiverse thing is going on right now and stuff, but they don't all know that, right? Alerting the other Avengers that the multiverse is becoming a bigger deal.
Well, I mean, you could in that sense. The only one we have really seen as a different universe was whatever I can't remember what we're calling from Multiverse of Madness. That universe.
The 838?
There we go, 838. That's the one we've only really spent enough time in to quote unquote care.
So maybe them coming after Doctor Strange because they blame him for something.
For the stuff they caused in their universe, and that could be kind of the leading towards us seeing more incursions.
I do have one other idea about incursions.
Yeah.
Again, Strange is aware of them, the rest of them aren't. Maybe the idea comes in with they witness an incursion. They find out about an incursion that happens. They see the destruction that an incursion does, where it can basically result in two Earths destroying each other. And then at least if they follow the comics, them being put in a position where they have to decide to destroy another Earth or not to keep their Earth, alive. Not that that's a quote small scale, but it would be smaller scale than Secret Wars is, right? Because it would only affect a couple Earths. Like, I realize how absurd that sounds, what I'm saying, but it would only do a couple Earths, and it's like that's the other scenario I could really think of.
Yeah, I mean, if I know the title has been removed, Kang Dynasty at that point. I think if we're leading towards Secret Wars, you go straight back to the comics and you title it Time Runs Out.
Sure. Sure.
Something to that effect of borrowing from the arcs of what Hickman did as leading towards his conclusion with Secret Wars. So, yeah, I mean, that would be, and again, we put small scale in quotes. I'm curious, Phil. Definitely write us back, and I want to hear what your idea is as well for that one.
And then our other question this week was from Jim. Have you had a chance to play Spider-Man 2 since the update that came out with some added features and stuff like that? What are your thoughts? I'm assuming you haven't played it because you were out of town, I think, when it dropped.
I was out of town, and right now I'm waiting for single player content to be added, and since no new single player missions and things like that, I'm sorry, I'm not interested yet.
Sure, they added New Game Plus.
Not interested.
Which basically lets you play from the beginning with all of your leveled up stuff. They added the ability to switch between daytime and nighttime. I will tell you, I couldn't care less about that, but sure, put it in there for people who want it. There's a couple new costumes. Okay,
Oh,
cool, whatever.
they did finally fix you can actually go back and actually replay missions.
They added that, yes. I need to go back to my original save, replay the mission that glitched on me, and finish it just to see if it'll unlock that costume that glitched and had me replay. Because prior to New Game Plus coming out, I had played through the whole game twice, and plus I'd played through the game with my son. And so he did most of that playing, but I was with him. So I've basically gone through it 3 times already. I am going through it on New Game Plus because I had 100% completion on all the trophies. And now I have I don't know, 97% or whatever because they added one more trophy, beat the game on New Game Plus. And so I am going through it again on New Game Plus, but I'll be honest with you, I'm playing it on easy and I'm skipping the cutscenes. I'm flying through it. So,
well, as you should, and you have that option.
And on top of that, I'm built up, so I'm destroying everybody, and I know what to do. Like the puzzles and stuff, it's like I know what to do.
Yeah,
like I know where to go. So at this point, I am playing. I'm trophy hunting. I don't do that with every game. This game,
but you also don't play a lot of games either, so you don't have a quote unquote backlog.
Right, I don't. It's basically this and Call of Duty. Let's be real. Yeah. And occasionally I play FC 24, but basically FIFA, but it's not FIFA anymore. And if David or other buddy from work is getting online to play Call of Duty, I'm just stopping Spider-Man. I'm switching and getting murdered to Call of Duty.
So. Yeah, I mean, and that's fair. And Jim, that for me, it'll have to be that. Hopefully, please bring Carnage, that single player content. You hinted at it. I need it.
I saw another rumor today that allegedly is going back to some of the leaks and stuff, but that talked about the equivalent of what the Miles Morales game was. And I don't want to say anything more here in case people are trying to actively avoid it, but I still hope that happens. Like another smaller game between Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. I'd be thrilled if they did that. Hopefully they do.
Yeah. So right now, New Game Plus doesn't interest me, and the biggest reason because I've got a backlog of enough games that it's not enticing me to replay something because I've got games I need to play. Like I'm still playing Jedi Survivor. So,
and hopefully, I guess Spider-Man 1 did have actual downloadable extra story missions. So, there were 3 extra chapters. Yeah. Hopefully, we get that too, but I haven't heard anything on that.
No, I haven't. So, maybe the next content drop, at that point, maybe it'll bring me back in. So,
we'll find out.
Any other questions?
No, that does it this week.
All right. Well, thank you, Phil. Thank you, Jim, for writing in at that point. And as always, make sure to, you don't have to wait till Brent puts out the signal. At that point, all our DMs are open, so feel free to reach out on anything. We'll get your question answered on air. So, Factor Fictions. All right, so this was last week for Mr. Snell. We've got a first for this show with Factor Fictions. So, this was kind of surprising how it worked out. Factor Fiction number 1, Marvel will skip San Diego Comic-Con this year. 50-50 split. We're not sure. I know that kind of stems from...
Didn't that recently get confirmed they were going? I could have sworn I saw something recently, too.
Well,
I'll look it up. But...
Yeah, you'll look it up at that point to confirm at that point. I definitely missed it if they did. So that was a 50-50 split, and that kind of stems from James Gunn saying that he will not be going. So the question is DC even going to DC Studios even showing up this year? Where I'm standing on this, I'm saying they are going... I'm still leaning towards fiction. I still think there's a greater chance for them to show up. 2 years in a row. Have they ever missed 2 years in a row, Brent?
I don't think so. And even when they have D23, they've gone, I'm not finding what I thought I was. Okay. So I must be thinking of something else. But I still think they're going to be there.
Yeah. Number 2, Spider-Man 4 director will be a first-time Marvel director. Here's our first 2 50-50 splits.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to go fiction on that one. I believe that the Spider-Man franchise is quote-unquote one of those hits that Iger would like to make sure they get right. So I don't think they're going to trust it to someone who, a first-time director, not this project.
They did John Watts.
They did John Watts, but that's a different time.
Touche.
So that's a different time. I think a lot of the things they used to do were as we talked about earlier.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, we're not in that same time. Number 3, Thor 5 will officially be confirmed this year. 44% said fact, 56% said fiction. Where do I stand on that one? I'm fiction, but it's like a 51%. So, all right. So my turn this week. I've been sitting on a few of these for a number of weeks since we've had a number of people guesting and taking over at this point. All right. Which order do I want to do these in?
3, 2, 1.
Nah, I'll do it in the right order. Here we go. Let's have fun because we like kicking it. We like kicking a dead horse, beating a dead horse. The combined final box office of Madam Web and Kraven will not exceed the final box office of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
All right, I got to look them up.
Now, Madam Web does drop on VOD tomorrow, I believe, or Friday.
Yeah, so... jeez, why would you do this to me?
Why would I do this? Well, I didn't ask you to do it, but you made that decision all on your own, my friend.
I need to make an educated answer here. All right.
Well, I've got an educated answer. It's not going to take me looking up anything.
They're not going to do it. Well, I needed to know what Across the Spider-Verse made.
Yeah.
Which was 681, by the way.
Yes.
What is Madam Web at?
We only did one box office check. We didn't think it was worthy of a second one.
Okay, Madam Web's at 97. So you said it's Madam Web and Kraven combined?
Combined. Final box office.
Kraven's not making $500+ million.
People aren't going to be Kraven more Kraven?
No, they're not. So, no, I guess. Yeah, okay, I'm with you.
Yep, I'm a hard fact on that one.
Fact it is.
Now I had this in the back burner, but even before Madam Web, I just didn't get it out there fast enough. So still works. All right, number 2, the Sentry will kill a number of members of the Thunderbolts as a result of losing complete control over his powers. So we're gonna lose a number of members of the Thunderbolts.
I'm gonna qualify something.
Okay.
Technically, 1 or 0 are numbers. What do you have an idea in mind of what you mean? Like 2 or more, 3 or more,
2 or more,
more,
2 or more, 2 or more.
All right,
one's too easy. One's too easy.
Sentry will kill 2 or more people who are members of the Thunderbolts.
Let me put that in my notes. We'll kill.
I'm gonna say fiction.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think 2. I think 1 is likely. I don't think 2 people are gonna die from it.
Okay.
It'd be interesting if it did, though.
Yes, it would be at that point. So, all right, let me just add this here. Gotcha. All right, so my last one. Captain America Brave New World will be Avengers 4.5, as the changes being brought with reshoots will set the formation of the new Avengers team.
So it'll be like how a lot of us said Winter Soldier was 1.5, Civil War was 2.5.
Did we say Winter Soldier was like that? I thought that was more of a Civil War thing.
Civil War for sure more, but I absolutely said it about Winter Soldier.
I definitely have never said that and haven't definitely made that a thing at that point. I will definitely have people saying that Civil War.
I mean, so many of the Avengers are in it. So you're just saying it'll be like that, where there will be quite a few.
It'll be more. I'm not saying it's not going to be like what people complain about Civil War at that point. It still will be a Captain America movie.
Oh, like
but
Civil War. Okay, I'll say fact.
Yes, you had to get that in.
I did.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a fact in this one. Again, we're just going off of there being a number of reshoots. We've heard enough things that certain things are no longer going to be there. This, that, and the other. I'm a fact on this one just because I can also read the tea leaves. We need to have an Avengers team. I know my prediction this year. I'm still standing by it. We will not know who the new Avengers are this year. We will still have no freaking clue.
There's a trailer that's going to come out this year and ruin that for you.
That's okay. Because I remember what my prediction was. By the end of 2024, we will still not have an official announcement of where and who are the Avengers.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
but
good ones.
There we go. So, all right, I will post those on Sunday afternoon to let your voices be heard. And Brent, let's bring back Comic Book Club. We've had a
It's
little bit of a
back.
break. It's back at that point. So we have Wolverine number 68. So this is Old Man Logan part, what are we at? Part 3. So we left off with understanding that Hawkeye's daughter, who is the granddaughter of Spider-Man, had been captured by Kingpin. And obviously, we're going to have to go rescue her. So what'd you think about this issue?
Yeah, it was another good one. I like the basically Logan Wolverine getting the like keychain, the X-Men keychain, and it just
Hmm.
like flashing him back to memories of his last active time as Wolverine. But really, the page that like really stood out to me is the dinosaurs. Man, I forgot about the
The
dinosaurs in this one,
Raptors.
and
Y-
they straight up eat the Punisher and Daredevil.
Okay, so my question is like, is this Matt Murdock and Frank Castle?
They don't give us enough information to answer that question.
Like the
So
only thing I do see a little bit of red hair coming out of the mask for Daredevil. It's really hard to tell one way or another if that's truly Frank Castle. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I'm gonna say sure we're gonna go with it, but it just seemed
it is still this world's Punisher and Daredevil.
yeah
And so what the issue leads you into thinking is, oh, they're going to get rescued, they're going to get escaped, and maybe they're
yeah
going to join up with Hawkeye and Logan, right?
nope
And no, they get eaten. They get eaten.
yeah they get wrecked. It's bad. So this Kingpin is just basically calling himself the Kingpin. Doesn't look to have any relation to Wilson Fisk
Right,
at that
right.
point. However, we do know that this Kingpin, this was the territory originally controlled Magneto. I guess he killed Magneto, which I would
And
love to see how
Magneto,
that.
yeah, how did this guy take down Magneto? It's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I did think it was cool the spider buggy going to top speed across the building. The spider buggy.
I think it's cool they use the spider buggy at all.
Hmm.
Just at all. The fact that they have it in there.
And I love seeing Hawkeye go, full Kill Bill on everyone.
Yeah, there's a moment in there when Hawkeye he's going in to rescue Ashley, and she says something like the control panel is 30 inches to her left or whatever like that.
Yeah,
And because he's that good, he's able to find it. And
yeah,
she's good enough to call that out the exact distance away. Very cool moment.
exactly. And then the Kingpin walks in and she goes, "You just made your first big mistake, Kingpin," and takes the shotgun. You got old. And she uses the shotgun to basically decapitate him, not by shooting him, but by swinging it. I was like, okay,
There's some spider strength in there.
there has to be. There absolutely has to be. I'm not. This is not trying to be a male chauvinistic. I'm just saying it has nothing to do with shooting the woman. I was just like, I, you don't necessarily do that with that kind of with just simply doing it at your full force. Which I would buy. Again, she's the granddaughter of Peter Parker. She should have some spider abilities and spider strength.
Yeah, and then it looks like she's zeroing in on Clint to do the same thing to him.
Yeah, and I was like, I killed the Kingpin, like he killed Magneto. Now it's time to show these boys what their new boss is made of, and she's getting ready to. She's lifted the shotgun above a cowering Hawkeye, and we left with Wolverine saying, "Damn me to hell for making me do this, Hawkeye." And he's in the spider buggy at the time, so yeah, I don't know.
I guess we'll find out. I waited to read this one, and now I'm like, gosh, every time I just want to read the next one.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun one at that point. So, all right, well, Brent, as I said at the beginning, it's good to be back. It's good to be back in the saddle. And next week we've got 2 episodes of X-Men '97 to
Yep.
review, so that's going to probably take up the bulk of the show. So, unless some major news breaks, that might be pretty much the majority of our show. But I am excited, not just for content, but for X-Men back in animation. I'm very happy.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see it.
All right, so tell people how they can follow you.
Brentech Prime on the socials, threads, Twitter, wherever, DMs are open on the platforms that have them. So,
Yep, and you can find me on at Chris Balga. You can follow my other show, World's Finest True Believers, at Finest Believers. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can follow the show. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUAPod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions, fact or fictions, everything. DMs are open across the board. Continue to rate, review the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcast. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us in the chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, as we hinted at the beginning of the show, X-Men 97, week before, we always typically do our predictions. So, Brent, predictions. What are some of your predictions you got for X-Men 97?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and I'm like, I feel like we mentioned it last week. I feel like I was trying to think of like bad guys to show up. Apocalypse feels like a gimme. We know Mr. Sinister is coming. We know Magneto is coming. I was like, who else might show up? You know who I'm hoping shows up? I'd really appreciate it if they had the same voices, but I have no idea about the voice actors. I didn't look it up. The Blob, Pyro, and Avalanche. I always liked it when those three goofballs showed up, and so I prediction / a little wish casting. I'm hoping we see them again.
Yeah, I think you're gonna at least see one, if not all of those. I think they were enough present in the previous series, showing up every so often that sure, why not? I put this out as fact or fiction a while, and this is something I still think. I think we're getting Goblin Queen. I think something about Jean Grey. I'm not fully sure that's Jean Grey.
I know you think it's Madeline Pryor.
I think it's Madeline Pryor.
They're gonna watch him lead into and have Chasm show up. Just no, honey, don't do it. Don't.
Wow, that's no.
There is another character.
How
I think,
dare you utter that on this show?
I think by the end of the season, I think we will see another character, and that is the Watcher from What If.
You okay? What? Oh, wow. Okay.
I specifically saying Jeffrey White's Watcher. I think will maybe in like a credit scene will pop up, or we'll just see him in the background watching like the final climactic battle or whatever. Won't necessarily interact with the X-Men because he doesn't. Outside Captain Carter, he doesn't usually interact that much. But just as kind of their tip of the hat to like, it's all the same multiverse.
Yeah, you know what I would love to see? I don't think we're going to see it. I know it's a prediction, but I think, typically we've got X-Men, the animated series was very good at our going into a dystopian future and things like that. I would love us to have an episode like that. I just, we covered the, the titles and stuff like that. You all covered that before, but I'm not sure, just even based on the titles, I'm not sure we're going to get an episode like that this season. I think we're going to have it maybe the following season, but I don't know. I'm still 50-50 if we're going to get a dystopian future episode.
Well, it's worth noting when they would do those episodes, the seasons were longer.
True.
And so if you look at season 1 and 2 of this, that basically compares to the length of one of the regular length seasons of the original run. Yeah, maybe we don't get it this year, but maybe we'll get it next season. So okay. I think you're onto something there.
How about another? This is another wishful hope at that point. We're going to see the return of X Factor.
Are you kidding? I hope so. I want more Havoc, absolutely. But really, all my favorite X characters are not mainstays of this group. Havoc, Nightcrawler, Iceman, Colossus. I don't know why they're my favorites. They just are. I've never been able to answer that question. So, Iceman's only in one episode. Nightcrawler's in 2. Colossus is in 2. Havoc, he's in 2, but he only has a speaking part in 1, which is next to nothing. And it happens to be the Iceman episode. I would love to see some of them again.
Yeah. Who do you think's in that casket?
The one that they're leading us to believe is Professor X?
Yeah. I don't think I'm 99% sure.
I think it's empty. I think
really? Okay.
I think it's metaphorical. I think they were told they were
taking the animated show and putting metaphors in it.
Well, basically they were told that Professor X is dead, and so they're just burying an empty casket, more or less.
Who told him?
That's my question. The Shi'ar.
He's not dead.
No, of course. I'm not saying I think he's dead.
Okay.
But Cyclops and company don't know that.
Again, proving again the Cyclops is wrong.
You, you would.
I would, and I did.
And you will again. You will
yes,
again.
throughout this entire show, I will jump on the chance that any chance that man is wrong, I will gladly
just one
point it out.
time, I hope they say Cyclops was right.
That's fine. A broken clock is right twice a day too. So.
Ouch.
Let's see. Anything else? Like, I'm trying to think of anything else. There was one on the tip of my tongue. Do you have anything else?
You know, I was listening to Geek First, kind of give some X-Men 97 predictions, and I want to say it was Dylan, they alluded to something without quite getting there, without like realizing like there is something to it, and they basically alluded to like a cloned evil version of Cable or whatever of the baby coming back and having to deal with it. And I'm like,
a cloned
you mean
evil? You mean Strife?
Strife, like that's what I'm saying, but they didn't know about the characters clearly. So I'm like, you know what? If we do, you know, we get an adult Cable at all, I think an adult Strife would be fun. And you actually do see Strife in the background of like one episode. It's one of the final episodes of season 4 when he's got all the Apocalypse has all the telepaths. But you know, like Strife is just like he's one of the ones floating in the background. But actually, Scarlet Spider is in one of those background shots too for the record. And I've never noticed it until this watch through. But anyway, irrelevant. It's a different episode. It's one of the dystopian ones. But regardless, I think Strife would be fun, and we haven't done anything with him, and like in the show. So I'm just trying to think of like villains that they haven't really touched. Like we've gotten a lot of Apocalypse and Sinister and Magneto. Who else have they not? There's plenty of other villains. Strife is one of them.
You know what I think would be a fun, like you have a lot of love triangles or relationships on this show. Here's one I would love for them to do and let people go crazy with it. Rogue and Magneto.
Oh, there you go. Really mess with people on that one.
Oh my gosh, I would love it.
Is he gonna lose his memory and go by the name Joseph also?
We also don't like talking about that.
What about the character of Arcade?
Those were the dark times before the Empire.
What about Arcade? You know
that's who I've always said that instead of Mojo's Mojo at that point, but
Sure.
that's a good substitute for Mojo.
Like, I just think of Arcade. I understand Arcade is not just an ex-villain. He's just, in my head, associated with them because of his game Spider-Man and X-Men Arcade.
Oh, it was terrible. Absolutely horrible game.
Yeah, I was awful at it. But it was Spider-Man and X-Men. Like, I played it on the Super Nintendo. And, like, in my head, I've always associated Arcade with the X-Men, like, through that game. And, of course, Spider-Man. But, yes, I absolutely want the 90s Spider-Man to show up. But I think Arcade would be a fun villain. Maybe a little too Mojo-like, but I think it'd be a fun villain to bring in.
It would be. Now, they did ask this, and I think it's a valid question for us to put out there. Geekverse asked this. Do we think we get end credits, anything in this season? Any end credits?
Only one, if any. Only one, if any.
That's where I say only one, if any, and I think it would be the typical final episode.
And that could be where the Watcher is.
Or that could be the return of Professor X.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but all right. So those are some of our predictions. We will see you back next week for the return of for the comeback of X-Men the Animated Series, X-Men 97, 2 episodes. Enjoy, everyone. We will see you next Thursday night. Bye-bye.